All right, let's get started on this week's stuff. This week we are looking at personal safety and well-being. Bit of an intro. Definition: personal safety, well-being. Understanding ways to protect oneself physically, mentally, emotionally, and digitally. Importance highlights why personal safety and well-being are essential for a balanced, healthy life. Um, it's something that I think is in some ways more important today than it was 25 years ago when I was your age. So we'll look at a little bit of the past and what it was like, a little comparison. But for the most part, we're going to look at what you can do, need to do today and moving forward to protect yourselves. Physical safety, that's obviously what we all think of when we think of safety. Um, Basic tips: cooking, fire prevention, electrical safety. Don't be dumb. That's kind of my go to rule with everything. Don't be dumb. Learn how to do what you're doing before you do it. Um, if you're cooking, using stoves, things like that, it only happens when you are home. Do not leave a roast in the oven and then take off for 3 hours while it's cooking. Something happens, you don't get back, starts a fire, or if a fire starts while it's cooking and you're not home, you're not there to call for help. You're not there to call the fire department. Um, Electrical safety. I know a lot of us out here, we like to fix things ourselves. But the key here is to know what you're doing. If you are not an electrician, do not take on major electrical tasks in your home. Learn what you're doing before you do it. Um, Outdoor safety, self defense. It's kind of hard to teach over the internet, to be honest with you. But the key is awareness of your surroundings, whether you're walking alone or not. We talk about some of the stuff in the health class as far as how to protect yourself outside when you're around. But don't put yourself in positions that could be an issue. Don't put yourself out there where people are fighting, where bad things happen. Some of the stuff is things your parents are going to tell you. Like, my dad always told me nothing good happens after 10 o'clock at night. And, it wasn't to say that fun things didn't happen, but that 90% of the time when something bad happens to somebody, it's late at night. It's when it's dark. It's when bars are getting out, things like that. Um, Emergency preparedness, knowing CPR. I know, like all of us teachers, we have to know it for our job. I had to learn it over and over and over and over again with the Marine Corps. Same with first aid stuff. These are things that are beneficial for you to know. If you ever have an excuse to take a CPR class or a first aid class, take it. I know a lot of times you can do them through the Red Cross, things like that, through different organizations. They're free. Um, Creating a family emergency plan. This can be something written out in a notebook and it can be very organized, or some very basics like if there's a fire, this is how you get out of your bedroom. We meet at this neighbor's house down the road or across the street, depending on where you live. My kids know if something were to happen here, they've got different ways they can get out of the house, and we meet at our neighbor across the street. We know them, and it'll work out safest that way. Mental and emotional well being. That's still part of your overall safety. Um, some of the stress management stuff, things that we have talked about, but deep breathing, mindfulness, getting regular exercise. When I did a lot of personal training, I did help. It was typically women, but some men too, with self defense type classes. And one of the keys is just regular exercise. Regardless of what you can do in like a hand to hand, have to protect yourself situation, if you're out of shape, you're not going to do much good. If you're horribly out of shape or you're weak or you're whatever, and someone puts their hands on you, how are you going to protect yourself? If you find yourself in a bad situation, you're not going to be able to run away. You're going to be too out of shape, too tired. You're going to get caught. You're not going to be able to handle yourself hand to hand because you're weak. So get that regular exercise. Take care of your body so your body can take care of you. Um, Identifying triggers and managing workload effectively. Some of that triggers could be what triggers you to say something stupid, to say something dumb. And I know this applies to some of us in this class. Tend to run our mouths, tend to say things we shouldn't say because right now there aren't very many consequences for it. I can tell you now, once you leave high school, once you go out into the real world, you are an adult. You're going to say things and do things that might offend somebody. And you have to understand that not everybody is just going to blow it off or just, oh, he's just a kid, he's learning. No, not anymore. Now you're an adult. You're going to have to answer for what you do. Self-care, daily self-care practices, sleep, hydration, balanced nutrition. How can you look out for yourself if you don't feel right? You got to look out for your health. You have to look out for your mental well-being. None of those things happen if you're not sleeping, if you're not drinking water, if you don't have enough nutrition. Self-care stuff, that's just the basics. Brush your teeth. Take a shower. I think it was in Flint during a lot of the lead in the water crisis stuff that they found incredibly high rates of certain STDs. And they found a lot of that was because people were afraid to shower and clean themselves because of lead in the water. So take care of yourself. Lead in the water thing only hurts you if you drink it, if you take it in. Taking a shower and it has zero effect. Positive self-talk, setting boundaries, help reducing burnout. I can speak from my side. I want to make as much money as I humanly can, but I also realize I'm working a normal job, a job that sometimes means on the weekends, like today, I'm setting up classes for the week. I'm doing other things. If I want to take on another job, yeah, I'll make more money, but mentally, can I handle it? Am I going to eventually have a breakdown? So I have to set boundaries, sometimes within myself, sometimes to others. There's times at work, maybe the school wants certain teachers to do so many things to help out. Some of us enjoy helping out, so we volunteer. We say, yeah, I'll do that, I'll do that, I'll do that. Eventually, we have to speak up and say, well, I need a break. I'm burnt out, or I'm going to burn out. I need some time. And they'll take care of you if you are confident and you do it the right way. Seeking help. Sometimes when it's time to talk to a counselor or a therapist, normalizing mental health care. Sometimes help is speaking with somebody. And in your case, that might be Mrs. Mack, Miss Chris, Miss Carla. They're great resources. Sometimes it might just be your folks. I know that if I'm overwhelmed, if I'm burning out, if I need something, I call my dad, I call my wife, I've got my kids. There's people out there. So you have to understand that use the people that are closest to you, same way that you would be there for them. And then at the same time, it might come to a point that no, I need more help than just a chat with a friend. I need to see a specialist, somebody who knows how to help with this the best. We're always going to push for normalizing mental health care. There's still a stigma to it in some places. There is. I'm not afraid to admit that I've had mental health challenges, that I've gone to therapists. I've done a lot of stuff. When I first started in the Marine Corps, I was pulled into an office and I was ripped into about being weak. That I'm a Marine, I'm supposed to be the best. I was one of the toughest that we had. I was a very good Marine. But some of the old school guys still saw, hey, if you're seeing a therapist, you're weak. And they were concerned for me because I was showing weakness. The heck with them. It worked out the best because I did do those things, and it helped me out career-wise. It helped me out with everything. Digital safety. This is a newer one. I didn't have as many concerns with a lot of this when I was younger. Social media awareness. Sharing too much personal info. There weren't things like Snapchat where all of a sudden you're sending pictures and information and talking to people that you've never met face to face. That was just unheard of. If I wanted to meet somebody, I had to go out to a library, go somewhere where people were going to be. Some of you have probably seen I have Facebook. Some of you have tried to add me on Facebook, and I've ignored you. Nothing personal. I keep my privacy settings the way they are for a reason. Some things can be seen, some things are shared, most things are not. That is my personal life, my family, my home, my everything. You guys don't need to know that stuff. Same way, I don't need to know where you live. I don't need to know too much personal about you. All we need to know about each other is what's affecting our student-teacher relationship. Cybersecurity basics, strong passwords, recognizing phishing scams, gosh, as teachers, we get emails from the IT guys all the time talking about, like, hey, you won this prize. Just click here and get this free money. And it's just to test us to make sure we are not just being dumb clicking on everything we can. That's how people can get your information. Ways why to avoid sharing personal details with strangers. You don't know who people are, and you can't trust them unless you know them. One that I used to use a lot with new clients at the gym is typically they were college-aged females. So I, of course, right away asked, where do you go to school? And because the area we were in, a lot of people at Oakland University. And I knew the campus reasonably well. I'd gone there. And you just start asking a few questions like, oh, what's your major? And then you ask them like, oh, you live on campus, right? And then within a few questions, I could tell them where they lived, rough idea of when and where people can leave those dorms. And then all of a sudden they realize that they don't really know me, but all it took was 2 minutes, 5 minutes of conversation. And I know where you live and you sleep and when you're coming home and everything now. And that's scary. Healthy screen habits kind of falls into the same things. Limiting screen time, reducing mental fatigue, regular screen breaks. I know there's part of LCD screens that affects the way our brains process time of day, things like that, our cycles. And it's your brain is going to not fall asleep when it needs to fall asleep. It's not going to rest when it needs to rest. So we need to take breaks. You need to get off the screen before bed. Give it some time. Healthy relationships are going to lead to a safer life. Setting personal boundaries. Why they're essential for respect in relationships? Because you're the only one that can look out for you the best. When it comes to relationships, and that means could be romantic relationships, personal relationships, friendships, work, things like that. You have to set boundaries. You have to respectfully say, this is what I'm okay with, this is what I'm not, this is where I stand. And you have to respect the other person giving you the same. Maybe you meet a new boy or girl this weekend and they're attractive, they're everything you're looking for, they seem great, but they do a couple things that just don't do it for you. Things that you are not okay with. It is all right to tell them, nothing personal, I don't mean it to disrespect you, but I'm not okay with certain things. And they might look at you and say, sorry, that's who I am. And then you realize, oh, got to move on. This isn't the right person for me. And it might go the other way around. Unhealthy, manipulation, control, disrespect. It's the head games. Typically, it's the head games. The only way to get through that is to be assertive, but know when to get help. I'm sure you've seen this in other people's relationships, hopefully not your own, but I know some of you have. You want to hang out with your friends tonight, and all of a sudden that person's just so depressed they need you there. Well, they just got you out of doing what they didn't want you to do. The person that needs the attention 24 hours a day, gives you zero time to be you. Those are manipulative and controlling, disrespectful behaviors. So you have to communicate, this is what I'm okay with. You cannot do these things. And then get help if you need to leave. Get help. That's when things can go bad. So speak up and get help. Support networks. Identify people you trust, even before you need them. I like to tell my kids, we're working on this stuff right now in the health class a little bit. I hope you trust me. If you ever need me in a situation, let me know. I want to help. At the same time, who else do you have? Can you go to your parents? If it's something that's genuinely scary, that situation could be bad, we've got Officer Ford. We've got people like that around. I know it's kind of habit or however you want to refer it to talk negative about a relationship with police, but they're there to help. They genuinely are. They're just like you and I. They want the best for people. So use what they're there for. Build a relationship with them. It's going to help you out no matter what. If you build a relationship right now with Officer Ford, you might not need it today, but maybe in 5 years, the situation's going to come up where you need somebody that you can talk to, that you can get help, advice, someone to look out for you, whatever it is, he's there. He's going to remember you. You can go to him. Conflict resolution, communication skills, um, effective communication. Keys are I statements when you're expressing feelings. It's a way to tell somebody how something's affecting you without pointing the finger. It's less confrontational. I can tell you guys, I feel like you're not paying attention in class today, and I feel like you're not putting in all of your effort. And that opens it up for communication. You can look at it and say, maybe I'm not doing certain things right. Or you could look at it and say, sorry you're feeling that way, Mr. Sharp, but I've had a bad day and I've had these things going on. And now we have somewhere to start the conversation to make things better. Steps to resolve conflict: staying calm, finding common ground, compromising when necessary. So if I have a significant other and I'm not liking something that's going on, I stay calm. I'm going to remember, if it's my wife, if her and I are disagreeing on something. As far as finding common ground, I got to remember this is my partner. This is a person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. That no matter what happens in the world, it's me and her against everybody. Hopefully we can build a bigger team. But if it came down to worst case scenario, she is the one that should be by my side, and I should be that for her. So if she's doing something I don't like, I don't want to confront it as an attack on her. It's more of an issue that her and I can fix. Oh, there go the dogs. And don't be afraid to get a mediator involved. Someone you trust, a friend, or whatever, to kind of give a little bit of middle ground there. I wanted to include a little section looking at how things were for me when I was a kid compared to now. And this is because some of you have parents who are about my age, and it'll give you an idea of why they do the things they do to protect you. There is more of an increased awareness for self-defense today. Public safety technology, emergency apps on our phones. Why all teachers, I know we have to take your phones from you, and some of you feel like it's not fair, but we have to have our phones on us. We all have an app on our phone that if an emergency in the school, I just press a panic button on my phone. It goes off to everybody else in the school, the fire department, I believe, police department for sure. Everybody is notified. Homes and public buildings and things like that have new updated safety regulations constantly. Looking at the mental health side, mental health is more openly discussed today than it was 25 years ago. There is better access to mental health services and self-care information. When I was in high school, my counselor, I think I ever had one or two conversations with him. As far as I knew, his only job was to tell me what classes I had to take. And then the last conversation was him telling me not to bother applying for college because my grades were so poor. That's it. That's all he was ever there for. Now you guys know today, if you're having just a crud day, you just walk into Mrs. Mack's office and now you've got help. So that access, things like that has increased. Digital safety developments, it wasn't even an issue. Identity theft, cyberbullying is a concern, is an issue. Digital literacy is a necessity. I know some of you, nicest way I can say this, you get away with and do things on computers and phones because your parents don't know what the heck is going on. Put yourself in the spot as now you're the parent. You want to be able to look out for your kids the best you can, so you want to learn as much as you can. There's a lot more education awareness on healthy relationships and boundaries. I think support networks are more accessible. There are a lot more resources to find, whether they're online or in other ways. Quick recap. Basically, the only person that can genuinely look out for you the best is you. You need to be smart. So this week, all the assignments are going to be based around different ways you can look out for yourself. And how to build a team of people that all have like-minded ideas, and you can help each other look out for yourselves. I know, open Q&A. I want to remind you guys that there is the forum part to this classroom where we can leave messages, where I leave my updates and things like that. Use that if you need help. If you have a question, ask me. If you need anything, let me know.